This tea plantation, surrounded by traditional Waikato dairying land, has been 13 years in the making. Vincent Chen, originally from Taiwan, and his wealthy family bought up 54 hectares of high-priced land just a few kilometres out of Hamilton. They now call New Zealand home, and quietly setting up a New Zealand-owned and based business is a far cry from controversial moves by Chinese-backed Natural Dairy New Zealand. The Chinese-backed company is trying to buy up 16 farms, once owned by Alan Crafer and his family and now in receivership, and establish processing factories. The group, through a subsidiary, is reported to be looking at many other properties around the country. China's boom has produced many billionaires, and there's no shortage of names from that elite in the shadowy and constantly changing group of backers for Natural Dairy. Some have been accused of dodgy dealings back in China, and frontwoman Mei Wang is being prosecuted by the company's office here and owes $20 million to New Zealand creditors who are trying to bankrupt her. As far as Sector Report can determine, the Taiwanese Chen family's entry into New Zealand commerce has been an untroubled affair as they set up their company here.
New Zealand is very green and nice country. This company we own 100% by New Zealander because my family about 13 years ago immigrated into New Zealand here.
Okay. From Taiwan?
Yeah, from Taiwan, yes. So we are the New Zealand citizen right now, so that's 100% is a New Zealand company, yes.
The plantation enterprise got off to a shaky start. Vincent Chen imported 1,500 cuttings of the oolong tea bush, highly prized by Chinese tea addicts, whose tender tips are picked for the teapot. But only 130 of the plants survived quarantine. With a lot of tender-loving care, Vincent has propagated the tea bushes over the years into 1 million plants on the fertile Waikato land. It was all a major investment for Vincent's father, so what value do they put on the company?
We buy the land for over 400 million, and then all the labor cost of put in, or facility of put in. I think TOP was at least 6 million in this Golden farm here. And then also in Bowman Road, we have another factory layer. That's probably was another few million as well. Yeah.
So it's been a very big investment for your family.
Yes, you can say that.
This particular tea bush only grows at a certain altitude in Taiwan's mountains, so it was touch and go whether the bush would thrive here. Ultimately, the survivors did. The bush is a type of camellia, a variety which can be found flourishing in many New Zealand gardens. So is that why they chose this country for the oolong tea bush?
Back to 1996, when my father and we came to New Zealand, we arrived here and my father saw out he see camellia grow very well in Hamilton. So he asked our neighbor, so why your camellia grow so well and so healthy? How do you do to them, and why they look so healthy? A neighbor looked at him and looked like, yeah, that's another crazy, strange immigrant people. And he told my father, said, as you know that the tea, the camellia grow in New Zealand here, you don't need to do anything. They just grow, and you don't need to fertilize them, and they just grow. Yeah. So my father think, camellia can grow so good here, then tea should be.
Exactly.
Because the camellia is very close to tea bushes.
Plants always need feeding, so did Vincent use traditional Chinese plant foods?
In the beginning we didn't, but we really want to make the quality can be compared with overseas, Taiwan or China. So we doing the both. I import some of the soya bean powder, or some of the peanut grain powders, that kind of things. Yeah, peanuts, and to combine into the soil, and then also I use some local fertilizer, dry blood, sugar pellet, and also some of the traditional something maize as well, and I also spray milk.
Milk?
Yes.
Well, that's naturally right in the heart of the Waikato, so it's pretty easy to find.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, why are the Chinese such avid drinkers of green tea?
The tea history in China is over 3,000 years. And start from there, the tea become the very traditional drink to all the Chinese people. Of course.
Oh, here's some arriving here now.
Yeah.
We'll try some in a second.
Yeah.
So it's a 3,000-year-old tradition.
Yes. And the people drinking tea at home, at business, and also there are many tea houses in China as well. And tea is good for health. And as people know, easy can be good for your stomach. And then after you eat a very oily food, this kind of type of tea is very good to make you throat better.
This very popular tea doesn't come cheap at about $1 a gram retail. The great bulk of production will be exported to China, Hong Kong and Taiwan initially, with no figures available yet. But Zilong says there has been huge interest in the product. And in a clear signal that the business is now owned by New Zealand citizens, albeit the family hails from Taiwan, they've named their oolong tea Zil. I asked for a further interview with Vincent Chan to talk about the whole process of setting up a business in New Zealand. We wanted some comparison with the problem-plagued and Chinese-backed Natural Dairy Holdings and their application to set up here. But Vincent politely declined, saying he knows nothing about natural dairy. He also pointed out he's in negotiations with the government over entry permits for his skilled Chinese workers and doesn't want to endanger that process. Meantime, Natural Dairy's application to set up in business here languishes away in the Overseas Investment Office awaiting approval, which the Minister of Agriculture has already said is unlikely to be given, unlike in the case of Vincent Chan's Zilong tea.